Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm producer Nathan Gobes, filling in for Jeffrey Davis this morning. I want to thank all our listeners for joining. We've had over 8,000 guests and counting on the show, and we're excited for our next one today. But today is a segment sponsored by one of our great partners, FEI Boston, Financial Executives International, which means my co-host for this segment is Evan Macedo, VP of Finance and Operations at Sapers and Wallack. Welcome, Evan.
Hi, Nathan. It's a pleasure to be back on your show. I always have a lot of fun, and I know we always have fantastic guests.
Yes, and as you said, we've got another fantastic guest right here. We've got Kourtney Corcoran, CFO of Concord Foods. Welcome, Kourtney.
Thank you, Nathan. It's good to be here today.
Yeah. So tell our listeners who are not familiar about Concord Foods. I know you've been on the show before, but that was a little while ago. So give us a little background on Concord Foods and some of the industry segments that you guys are in.
Sure, absolutely. So we are a food manufacturer located in Brockton, Mass. We sell all over the United States. And we're really in three business segments. So we're in retail, we're in industrial, and we are in food service. So if you go into retail, you would find us in the produce section. So banana bread, blueberry mix, apple crisp, those all go with certain produce that you would bake with. So, you'll see the banana bread with the bananas, the apple crisp with the apples, the blueberry muffin mix with the blueberries. We also sell lemon and lime juice in the produce section and a multiple selection of different spices like guacamole, salsa, hollandaise sauce. So that's where you can find us in retail. In the industrial segment, we provide caramel, mocha, pumpkin, all different flavorings and caramel itself to national chains, again, across the country. And then food service is we do distribute through some of the larger broadliners like Cisco, US Foods, Gordon Food Service. But we also, we sell to the up and down the street mom and pop ice cream shops. We sell flavorings and variegates. And then we also do breadings like clam fry mix for food service restaurants and hospitality.
Well, that's fantastic. I know you guys work really hard, and I know my favorite is the banana bread. I'm a big fan of that. I've had it many times, and I always think of you now every time I open up a box of it to make it. I wanted to ask you, you started your role last year in the middle of the pandemic, actually at the beginning of the pandemic. That must have been beyond challenging, probably not what you were expecting. What was it like starting a new role as a CFO of a prominent company in this area? And what challenges did you have to kind of overcome to help lead your organization throughout the year?
So really, the biggest thing was getting up to speed as quickly as possible regarding the business, while at the same time managing through the unknown. So, it was an uncertain time, both globally and nationally. When I was coming up to speed on the business, there were so many things changing in the business at the same time. So our trends were changing. So folks here that were, seasoned leaders and the folks in the plant across our supply chain, they were reacting to the COVID changes as well. So trying to help me get up to speed while also running the business in that chaotic time was challenging, but it was also really fun.
I bet. And Nathan, I'll let you go next.
Sure. I mean, you must have some pretty extensive experience dealing with issues related to staffing your facilities and shipping the products across the country. Was there anything special you had to do to make sure your team stayed motivated throughout this year and ensured that the products arrived at their destinations on time?
Yeah, you know what? I would say the biggest thing was communication. It really was key. Starting at the senior leadership level, keeping everybody updated as to what was happening. in the supply chain, what was happening in manufacturing, what was happening on the sales side, so that then the leaders could communicate to their teams to make sure that we were all on the same page with, what needed to get done. So, what forecasts need to change, what needs to change from, a buying raw material standpoint, what lead times need to change. So it really, to me, it was all about communication. And I also think that that helped motivate people and keep people positive, because we were talking about the changes in the business. We were talking about how COVID has impacted our business. And so they felt really comfortable that we were sharing that.
Great. And I'm hoping, for everybody's sake, that COVID will be just a time of the past sooner rather than later. And, looking forward to this next year, we should be hopefully be coming out of this pandemic. Restaurants should be opening up. We can all go out and maybe have some sort of normalcy back in our lives. From your perspective, where are you looking to spend your time and your attention as you navigate your company over this next year?
So really, with everything that's happened, so many things have changed in the market since the onset of COVID. So really, we need to focus on continuing to drive sales and really, take advantage of the upstream trends as the country starts to reopen. So, you look back at our sales from last year, and, industrial and food service were really impacted while retail really surged. But at the same time, we need to make sure that there's probably going to be a big piece of business, meaning incremental business, even over 2019, to take advantage of as people start to go back to restaurants where they haven't been there for a year. The other thing really is focusing on labor. I think that's another issue that's come up really since COVID. There's been a lot of changes. The labor market is really tight. So we're really focusing on, how do we best attract folks to work at our company, and then how do we onboard them? How do we keep them here? That's really a large focus of ours. And then the other big thing is really managing costs as the supply chain tightens. Mm-hmm. So, we're amidst a transportation crisis right now, and, costs are going up there, which increases costs on raw materials. And then, when those things start to change, it does start to filter into your business. So we're doing, whatever we can to just continue to look at continuous cycles of improvement and really, utilize that to impact our cost structure.
Yeah, absolutely. And to follow up with that too, I wanted to hear a little bit about what is an ideal client for Concord Foods look like for any of the listeners that might be listening to this and hearing your interview.
Well, what they look like is, someone that wants to go into the retail supermarket, go in there and get our great product. So like Evan said, the banana bread was his favorite. I like the apple crisp myself, though I really like all of the things that we sell, including our caramel wraps. We're actually going to also be coming out, or we just came out with bringing back the Rapples. So anyone that wants to go into the retail market and buy those things, they're our client. We also, we manufacture, as I mentioned before, all sorts of, caramel, mocha, pumpkin, gingerbread, all sorts of flavorings. So, any customer such as, a Honeydew or a Dunkin' or a Starbucks or any of those big names, they would be folks that we would want to attract as well. And also, as these restaurants get, back up and running, anybody that, the ones I can think of off the top of my head where we're going into the season are folks that want to do, clam fry or, fish and chips or any kind of batters. So those are the folks that we're really, looking forward to as our customers.
Well, I imagine you're going to be plenty busy as soon as these restaurants start opening up, which will be good for everybody. I know a lot of people probably look up to you as a leader of your company, and there's probably a lot of people listening to this that also look up to you. And I wanted to ask, as a leader of your company and somebody that has been in the business for quite some time, do you have any experience for any of our listeners on how to navigate, say you're in a CFO position over the course of this next year?
Absolutely. So first, I would say, a really important piece would be to develop the roadmap. So look at what are the critical few things that need to get done from now until the end of the year. Then step back and really work with the team to figure out, what are the tactics or strategic measures that need to take place to get those things done. And then really communicate it. So make sure that everybody in the organization knows what their role is and how they're going to contribute to reaching those goals for the balance of the year. The other thing that I think is just really important, specifically for this year, is to really stay on top of the changes in the market. So as I mentioned before, labor, there's probably not one person listening to this that isn't facing the tightening market on labor. And so I would say just watch and see what other folks are doing. Amazon just came out with raising the wage to $17 an hour and giving $1,000 signing bonuses. And Chipotle came out with something where they're raising their hiring rate to $15 an hour. So I think people need to look at what some of the other leaders in the industry are doing to figure out what some of those strategies might be.
Well, thank you, Kourtney. That's great insight and advice for our audience. This has been a wonderful conversation. I know I'm hungry just after this whole chat. Evan and I are going to go out and pick up some apple crisp and banana bread. But if listeners or viewers want to get in touch with you or find out more about Concord Foods, what's the best way for them to do so?
So our website is concordfoods.com. I am available at kcorcoran@concordfoods.com, and I would welcome any questions or any networking from this call.
Thank you. And Evan, if people want to get in touch with you, find out more about Sapers and Wallack or FEI, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Great. Well, if you want to get in touch with me, as Nathan said at the beginning, I'm the Vice President of Finance and Operations for Sapers and Wallack, a boutique financial advisory firm in Newton, Mass. You can go to our website, which is sapers-wallack.com, and we'd love to speak with you. Additionally, this is an FEI segment show, so I want to just say, if you're trying to get in touch with FEI, FEI is a premier senior financial executive networking group in Boston. They have over 400 to 500 members just in this area, and they're national. You can check them out at feiboston.com.
Thank you, Evan. It's great to have you on the show. I know we'll be doing some more segments soon. And Kourtney, hope we speak to you soon again as 2020 continues to roll out and we bring you back for updates.
Thank you both for having me on the show.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more stories on Radio Entrepreneurs.